Brent Toderian was appointed the City of Vancouver's Director of Planning in 2006. He works on development planning and architectural design approval, as well as citywide policy and visioning, central area planning, and community planning. His work focuses on initiatives relating to Vancouver's goal of becoming the greenest city in the world by 2020. Brent came to Vancouver from the city of Calgary, where he oversaw visioning and planning development and design in Calgary's downtown, midtown, and beltline communities.
I think we have to start out by thanking the Archives for producing this work for us, because it's, as the person who will probably be referred to as the new Director of Planning for the rest of my career, it's very important for those of us who are new to the situation to understand the history of this place. And as the saying goes, if we don't understand our history, we're doomed to repeat it. So I really want to thank the Archives and the organizers of this for putting this on, and I'd love to be able to show this to all of my staff. And I wonder if I could borrow the tapes, and because we have so many new people who don't necessarily know fully or understand and appreciate where we've been and how we've gotten here. We've read the books, and I must say I'm on this panel with a great deal of humility, given the collective history at this table. John has 500% more books written on this. Lance has 100% more books written on this, and Ray is Ray, Dr. Ray. And so, you know, for the rest of us, we're playing catch-up. So it's very, very important that we understand this history. I'd actually like to comment on all three films very quickly. I think the first film, which I found fascinating, really showed just before the time when we really could have screwed up the city. It made some statements that were sort of warning statements about the path we could go. And I have to say, in just keeping track of some of the warnings that were in there, I think my predecessors, I think our predecessors did well. You protected the street end views, you protected the view corridors to the mountains, you protected the agricultural land, you said no to the freeways. Even the issue of signage and the clutter of signage, we ended up cracking down on signage because of the value statement it had to do with the cluttering of the public realm. I'm not sure if we replaced our pink buildings with our green glass buildings, but there was something there about a West Coast unique architecture, and I certainly think whether you like the architecture or not in Vancouver, it is unique to us. When people look at that architecture, they say that's Vancouver, which is not necessarily something that was true back then. And we managed to keep our port shipping, and there's still industrial activity on the waterfront, although we certainly lost a lot of that. So I think our predecessors did well in the context of remarkably fast transformative change. You did a lot well to maintain a lot of the things that were important to the city of Vancouver, so I commend you for that. The second video just showed an awful lot of imagery really fast, which showed me that TV was weird back then. That's something
prime time. That's prime time.
I would expect to see that people sitting in a room in the Vancouver Art Gallery for 5 seconds or so, and then they move on, because how much attention span does the average Canadian have now? But what I got out of that was we were a city of detail before. And I think I could tell from the crescendos of the music, the parts that I was supposed to like and I was supposed to like the clean lines of the modernist architecture, I think. And I was supposed to dislike the clutter of the back alleys, of the infrastructure in the back alleys, the things that I think make our downtown east side and our alley system so interesting now. I really think we should designate that infrastructure as a heritage resource. But I could tell I was supposed to not like that. It was ominous and dark. And we had a lot of detail. And one of the things I hear from visitors frequently is we went from modernist architecture to contemporary architecture, and there's a big difference between those two things. But we still are not a city of detail. And I've heard, particularly from European urbanists, they say, where's the detail? It would be nice to have more detail in our architecture. And then, you know, I think everyone's hoping and expecting that we're going to disagree up here, but I have to say, I am shocked by how I thought we dodged one bullet in this city 3 ways. We dodged another bullet. That was a terrible plan. Terrible. And it would have done the same thing that that planning thought process did to many other cities. Everyone references me as coming from Calgary. I only spent 6 years there. I spent 10 years working in downtowns in Ontario, trying to stop the bleeding of downtowns that were going downhill because of ring roads, because of pedestrianized shopping streets, because of trying to have the downtown compete with the shopping centers. And thankfully, most North American cities didn't do that full separation. But if you go to places like in Paris, like La Défense, and compare that urbanism with the urbanism of, say, Canary Wharf in England, in London, which I find is much more true urbanism, it shows that the architects of the time, the modernist planners and the modernist architects, well, it's as Jane Jacobs said, they hated cities. They wanted to fix the problem that the city was. There was a line in there that said something like, it's about the problem that the city was, and it's because the essential problem of the city, the underlining of that. And I think that was this idea that we needed to fix the streets because the streets were chaotic. We need to separate the uses because things don't mix well. That is the essential failing of the modernist planning and the modernist architecture, and thank God we didn't do it. Can I just add that I think there should be a differentiation between modernist architecture, of which we're actually seeking to preserve some of it, designated even, and modernist planning, which I have no defense for. There's something to be said for plans and strategies, because maybe it's more strategies than plans, that do work in terms of bringing vitality to downtown. And one of the things that is working is the idea of downtown campuses, bringing students, a different kind of demographic to the downtown. I worry sometimes that there are downtowns across North America thinking that will be their silver bullet. There is no such thing. But it's one of many different strategies that are about enlivening and activating downtowns. And it's one of the good things about our downtown, that we have multiple downtown campuses that add that kind of demographic vitality.